Parliamentary democracy is messy. Democracy itself is messy. Ours is a very difficult one, especially from what you said. We have a hung parliament. If you believe that, parties would hold on to their principles and ensure that they advance or exercise their oversight responsibility in ways that inure to the benefit of the country. If you make that assumption, then I am looking differently at the outcome of that election to approve the ministers yesterday differently from what Felix is saying. I think Felix is angry about the outcome, but it shouldn't be. Democracy in its fullness was manifested yesterday, where people, in my view, voted their conscience. Now, he can, the NDC and Felix can think that, oh, it's a betrayal, but is it also the case that the people thought that it was wrong? That in spite of all the interventions and the proposals government is made to cut expenditure, which is carried most of it in the budget before Parliament, to say we are doing this and that to cut expenditure. Then the one fixation of the NDC, which for me is political. It is patronizing to the people of Ghana to say that we want you to cut the size of government, else you are not doing anything to control expenditure. It's not just not true. The debate in Parliament you heard, they were saying to you that, look, these MPs, they earn their salary as MPs. When they go, and the vast majority of President Akufo-Addo's appointees are on their parliamentary salaries. So it's inherently, you have, it is one time where the provisions of Article 78 make sense to me, to say that majority of the ministers must come from Parliament. So therefore, you have a number of people who already are earning their salary.
Are you saying that MPs who are ministers are not better off in conditions of service than MPs who are not ministers?
Relatively, because you heard from them that they themselves saying that we're already making our living with our parliamentary income, right? So,
but that's not correct.
But that they chose to do that, which is also a way of saving the state, right? So the government is made a litany of proposals.
No, when I say that's not correct, I'm saying factually, is that the situation? In reality, there are conditions that are attached to being a minister, and they are enjoying all these conditions. And the salaries too, is it true that they are taking only MP salary without more?
Yes, I've heard ministers, I think the labor minister, spoke to that following some interactions, to say that that's what he's chosen to do. And a number of them have
That's
spoken.
what he has
chosen to do. And I'm saying that across the board, most of them are doing that. But you see, what is of substance, something is that there are rafts of revenue control measures that government has introduced. But the NDC somehow carries on this disinformation to say that the country wants the size of government cut. From the first term to now, you will agree with me that the size of government tremendously has been reduced. This is the one time in our history where you don't have deputy regional ministers. For the first time, you have that. So there's significant concessions made in that direction. But you see, we shouldn't overlook the fact that there's a mandate given the president. He needs a team to do it. Something you are seated here. You have a producer and assistant producer, and below that are people. You need a full complement of that team to support you on air to make sure this thing is running the way it ought to be. If anybody comes to say that, okay, well, we are cutting our budget here at multimedia, and so therefore you are entitled to only one producer, perhaps you can make do, but it will make your work difficult. If you don't deliver, you cannot go back and say, because you cut the budget, they will just tell you, deal with what we have given you. But see, the business of running a state is almost like flying a plane. You don't want to make a mistake up there in the air. When you make mistakes by that, people die by the time you get to explain yourself, and people you will not be available.
People ask what